What's going on, boys and girls? Mikey Underground here with my boys today. Italian Sicilians do it better. Let's do it.
Italian Sicilians do it better. Oh, can't you see? From cooking to comedy, it's pure family. Turn it up. This groove's for you. Queens in the house, bringing something true.
What's going on, everyone? As the guy who's in the building likes to say, we're here, boys and girls. Mike Underground's in the building. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on, boys and girls?
Mikey.
Hey, such a pleasure to be here. What's going on, guys?
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
I got to experience Mike's Underground.
Yeah, you told me that's the sandwich you told me about.
Yo.
I'm jealous. I couldn't even taste it.
And then on top of the sandwich, Mike made me a pizza.
Oh yeah?
I was like, where's this place been my whole life? So, Mike, thanks
thank
again
you.
for being here.
That's my pleasure. Thank you.
It's like when I was there and you made me the food, I was sold. And then when I heard your story, I was like, holy crap, that is crazy to hear. So how did Mike Undergrounds come into play?
Listen, I've been in the pizzeria business my whole life since I was a kid. My family came out from Italy. My father jumped ship in Baltimore, 1962. He jumped ship, never to go on it again. He got off the ship, made a beeline straight to Brooklyn.
Damn.
And went to work at one of his friends' restaurant. And that's where he was for the last 2 years as a dishwasher. That's where he learned his trade. He learned how to make pizzas, cook, and stuff. Everything he learned there. And then after 2 years, immigration came knocking.
Oh,
They came
boy.
there with the badge.
Damn.
You know? And even when I was a kid, I remember, working in Amityville as a kid. Immigration once a year used to come around with their gold badges.
Wow.
You know, now it's like, whatever, but that's how it was. So they caught him and they sent him to jail for about 2 weeks. And my father said, Mike, was the best 2 weeks of my life. You know, 3 meals a day, TV, air conditioning. It was a vacation.
Well, I'm sorry. It's a cool story. But I didn't know about this one.
Just like Joe Pesci when he wanted to get some good sleep in that movie.
Yeah, leave me in there tonight,
leave him in jail. And and then after that, they shipped him back to Italy. And when he got there, it just so happens, he met my mother. They courted for about a year and stuff in Italy. And then my mother had an uncle here in Brooklyn, in Bensonhurst, not too far away from Lenny's Pizza, but it was on Grand Street, and they had Grand Street Pizza. They sponsored the whole family to come here. So they sponsored the whole family to come here. So they came here in 68, 67, I guess. 67, they came here. And when they got here, they had Social Securities and everything waiting for them at the tarmac. So they became, citizens or naturalized right away. So as soon as that happened, a couple months later, my mother went back to Italy, married my father. And then he got his thing, and they flew back together over here.
Nice.
Jesus.
And then everybody, all the brothers and sisters were put in certain pizzerias to work. My mother and aunt were seamstress. So they went to school, and they went to work at, I think it was Ken Textile, that big sign you used to see on the BQE, the Gowanus.
So when everybody came to New York.
Everybody came to New York. They settled in Cobble Hill, Carroll Gardens, Red Hook, whatever you want to call it these days, So they were on President Street, Columbia Street. That's where they grew up. So you had the longshoremen over there, everything else back in the day. So they worked at the pizzeria. And then what happened was they ended up moving to coming out to Long Island because customers were always like, go to Long Island. That's where the money is. Go to Long Island, go to Long Island. How they ended up in Amityville, Long Island, not too sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where they ended up. So they picked up this pizzeria. And but before that, they had a few other pizzerias on Flatbush Avenue and whatnot. But they settled in Amityville. So they're going back and forth to Brooklyn. And at that time, the whole family was involved in that pizzeria. So how it worked was that everybody pooled their money together. The first child got the house. Pooled their money together again. The second child got a down payment. So that's how it went.
You guys stuck as a unit, strong.
Stuck as a unit, and everybody just grew out of that,
Yeah.
And 1969, they opened up the pizzeria in Amityville, and it lasted, all the way up until when we kind of closed it down because my old man passed away in 2004, and he was the soul, he was the man of that place. So I knew once he passed away, I knew that that place is gonna, not gonna survive because I already had the steakhouse. I had already opened a steakhouse, so I couldn't go back and forth. So I couldn't let his legacy down. Once the place went out, I couldn't let his legacy go down. He gave me the place to do the right thing, and we sold it to this kid that was there because it was just too much for us to handle, and he just didn't do the right thing. So I knew I had to bring it back, but I knew I didn't really want to get into slices and things like that. So I wasn't too sure how it was going to come about. And then this whole thing just morphed. So 27, before I opened up, I was making bread. As I'm making bread, something hit me and I was like, wait a minute, what if I take some of these recipes, some of these techniques and put it into the pizza dough that I'm making?
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that and I started
Experimenting.
and doing it till I got something I loved. And I was like, wow, this is great. So that took me about 6-7 months or whatnot. And then just casually talking to the wife. What do you think? And whatever. Because I just got this itch to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did this itch come about? I opened up another restaurant.
This guy's just opening up food places all over the place.
Actually, not too far away from Vittorio's Tiny Steakhouse where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a fire. I opened that place out and it cost me millions to put out there. And I had this fire. It was doing well. And then I had 6 months in, only 6 months in, and I had this fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to shut the place down. I had to remodel again after
Oh, it
just
burnt
opening
down
up.
completely?
Yeah, I mean, it was the smoke damage was really, really, so you had to take everything out because the
Yeah.
smoke was just so intense.
Destroys
It
everything.
intoxicated everything.
So I was out of, and then I got it open again after a year and a half because once insurance company gets involved, they become your enemy or
Yes.
they make you an enemy. I don't get it. So it took a long time to really, get the money out and all that good faith and goodness that I put out there as far as marketing and whatnot was gone. I couldn't get the people back in there. And that's it. I couldn't do anything anymore. So
Oh,
pretty
my
much
God.
got rid of it. And I was really messed up in the head for a little bit because what the hell did I do wrong? So I told my wife, I was like, Christy, I don't know what I did wrong. I did everything right. But you know what? I was like, sooner or later, something's going to come to me and I'll find out why this happened. And because it has to, what did I do wrong?
Looking for an answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So not long after that, that's why I got the feeling of I need to make pizza. This burning sensation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started making it, and then Mike's Underground came along, and it became very successful. And that's when I realized that my father up there,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, you know what, son? This is not you. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt for a little bit. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna go in purgatory. You're gonna be all fucked up. But this is not your path. Your path is the pizza. And I really truly believe that is the reason why it happened. And once I started the pizzeria thing, and we were very iconic in the neighborhood, meaning that, we've been there since 1969. So my father's seen, kids grow up and them having kids and them having grandkids. And it was just generation after generation after generation. And once I brought it back, everybody's just like, where is it?
Yep.
So I started making a bunch of pizzas and I just started giving out to friends. And I was like, you know what? Just throw it out there. Throw it on social media. Just throw it out there. I was like, Mike's is back. I got my mics,
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody answers you, where? Don't say nothing.
Right.
Can we pause a sec? Because I got something funny about that.
Go ahead.
So when Angelo, who couldn't be here today, organized the meet with him, he said, Frankie, do you want to come with me? I said, yeah, of course. So I go and I look up the address and I said, hey, Ange, the address says it's this place. He goes, but that's what he gave me. I'm like, but that's not where you said we're going. So then I'm not going to lie, for a while there, and on the way there, I was like, we're gonna get robbed, bro.
You just got set up.
But then when we got there,
Yeah.
I've eaten there once ago, but never knew, that Mike's Underground
was
came
there.
out of that spot.
It had to be that way, and I'll tell you the reason why. But so I open it up, this place, and now people are like, where is this? Where, don't answer. Okay, so now the thing is building.
Yeah.
The thing is building.
People
so
are just nosy, wanting to find out.
So these people are like, where is it? So I'll just contact them. And I was like, hey, what's going on? It's me, Mike. Blah blah. You want some pizzas? Blah blah. This is what you got to do. I was like, I'll give it to you. Just don't say nothing. All right. So now they're in on it. So they're like, I can't tell you anything. And now I get them, but the other people, and they're doing it. So now it just built up this wildfire of like, curiosity, and it was honestly, I really had to do it like that because it was just me. It was just me and my wife there, and I couldn't really take on any people.
Right.
So it became like this secret thing, and people were saying, well, it's like the Fight Club. It's an underground thing, whatever that saying goes, but it's an underground thing. I was like, oh, shoot, okay, underground. So I wrote that down because I didn't open up as Mike Underground.
No.
And then I got my first delivery. I was like, I got a delivery. I was like, shit, I got no delivery drivers. So I went on the dining room floor and I pulled a busboy out.
That's the story I heard.
The busboy, he's dressed, tie, white shirt, the whole nine. I was like, come on. Goes and makes a delivery. Next, the lady's like, I just got my Mike's Underground. I can't believe it. They come dressed in suits and this and that. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, put the suit. Perfect. So basically, my fans were naming my place. They were really,
Giving you the idea.
right, giving me the ideas as I went along. And that's pretty much how that happened. And it just really snowballed from that point on. And that was 2017. So I'm doing my thing. So 2017, we created pickup spots. So people, further out east could meet over here instead of coming to Amityville. People further out west instead of coming. So we had this, to make
branching out.
Yeah, to make it more convenient for them.
Sure.
Okay. And then we had regular pickups by the local gazebo that's in town there.
So it's still at this point, it's delivery only.
Still at this point, it's still delivery, but it might be changing soon.
Okay.
We'll sit down. Hopefully, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
And yeah, so that would happen in 2017. So if you pulled up, then we just deliver it right to your car. Here you go, right there, right?
Fuck off.
Here you go. There you go.
In the suit.
So we had a West Babylon pickup and a Massapequa pickup and a John J. Burns handball court section over there, and that was our two pickup spots right there. And then come along the pandemic, right? And you remember during the pandemic, everything is curbside
Right.
and whatnot.
So you were already doing that.
I already had an infrastructure.
There you go.
I already had this huge infrastructure.
It probably doubled for you.
Yeah, I had to shut down
Look at that.
the restaurant because nobody could come to the restaurant. I had about 7 waiters working in it, so I kept them employed as
Delivery drivers.
delivery drivers.
Good.
They come in with their suits and everything else.
That's it.
We had the infrastructure. We had everybody already knew. And now at this point, everybody's on their computer. Everybody's on social media. That's their home. They can't do nothing. Everybody's on their computer. And that's when it really just took off and really blew up. And not only for me, but for a lot of people. You see how many sourdough bakers came out
forget
of
about
it.
it. Oh, yeah.
Secret pizzaiolis in the basement coming out. I mean, so much, so many people have changed their profession because of the pandemic, And you got a lot of good stuff out of it.
Sure.
People really, really, that homemade stuff, it's really great.
I got to tell you something. I've never seen how many products can come out of cottage cheese. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, you're right.
Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, almond flour. You can make fucking everything, bro.
Right?
I'm telling you.
It's credible when people stay home what they come up with.
Tell us the part where people started following your drivers to find where you
Oh,
were.
shit.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe this.
It was a big thing, if we have to walk down the block by the local gazebo, right? Walk down the block now, we have people. We could make a beeline right to the gazebo right from where I'm at, right? But I have my drivers where they walk there, right? Go around.
Oh my
And
god!
then go like this, so like that, we throw them off, right? They'll put the pizza in their car, right? And then they'll kind of like walk with them behind them and try to find out where we are. Same thing with going to people's houses or meet them at the pickup spots. They'll follow them just come back. Where sometimes I'm behind the gate over there.
Stop.
It's like Mike's Underground. We know where you are. So little by little, this excitement, this type of secrecy, people really, really love.
Such an exclusivity. That's really what it is. Everybody wants to be a part of the club that they're not allowed in.
Exactly.
That's what that is. That was a smart marketing move, man. Seriously.
And it's great. And it's great. And I learned things from this that what you say is exactly true. And you have a lot of places that open up big signs, lights, and this and that and this. You don't need that.
No,
you really don't need that. You just have to build this excitement to get them there. So I got this place, and I'm going to do something. We'll see what it turns out to, but it's going to be a really cool place that I'm going to do. That's going to involve pizza, but it's going to involve other things.
Right.
And no big lights, no nothing.
No.
Just no big sign, just a little sign underground, maybe with a little red light just shining over it.
Make it rare.
And that's it.
That's it.
And that's it. And people really are excited. Every time I tell someone, I think I told you what my idea was. It's I'll say it. It's going to be a 1970s themed
nice
dive bar. A really, really cool place. You get a set.
I got it here.
I got a set designer all set up. It's going to look really, really cool
Nice.
because I grew up my father's pizzeria, and that was 1970s. That was a nice wall paneling. It was, and that's in my mind. But it's going to be like on steroids. It's going to be really, really awesome, and it's going to have, a nice stage.
Well, what location? Could you say that, or you?
It's going to probably be somewhere in Amityville.
I have. Can I throw in a thing? Have two people smoking cigarettes just to keep the atmosphere going on the corners. That's it.
100%. 100%. Have some guys outside like this and the thing. Hey, Paulie Walnut's getting his freaking tan.
I'll come hang out over there.
So basically, what I want to do is I don't want to open up a pizzeria.
No.
I want to open up. I don't want to open up a pizzeria that has a bar. I want to open up a really cool bar that just happens to have really good pizza.
Okay.
Because you know how it is when you open up a pizzeria, it's just a slice. It's just a pizzeria.
It's a lot of people. It's just for volume.
Right, exactly.
You have more than that in you.
Exactly. I mean, there's plenty of times where I had to call, text back or call back a lot of our fans and tell them, listen, I'm sorry, I know you have a pizza order, but the dough isn't performing the way I want to perform. I'm shutting down, and I've done that. Plenty of times that I needed to do that. Yeah, I lose a lot of money, but I'd rather lose money that way and gain respect from the customers
Quality.
for telling them that because that's what they're paying me for.
Right.
They're not paying me just to get the pizza and sustenance. They're paying me because I'm the professional, make sure that they're getting the right thing.
And right there is rare. How many people we know that would buy cheaper quality products and they're still doing everything the same, but if the quality isn't there, they're still putting them out. That's why people stop going to places. You said, fuck it, I'll take the hit.
Right, exactly.
I'll take the fucking hit.
Because if the product isn't right, okay, if you tell them that you lose money that way, but I'd rather lose money that way than lose customers.
Right.
And then they're going to start talking shit. I just rather, I rather,
Smart.
Sorry, we're closed.
Yeah.
It's over. The refrigerator shut down or whatever happened, And people really, really do respect you for that. And
They'll say, let me know when you're up and running again.
Yeah, and they appreciate it.
Yeah.
They appreciate it. Our Sicilians were one of the biggest sellers, and it still is, I put, I don't know if you don't know about the Detroit pizzas, how they have that frico.
Yeah.
The burnt cheese on the
Yes.
sides. It's called frico in Italian.
Oh, is it?
So I did it with the Sicilians.
Okay.
So I got the Sicilians. I cook it in a small pan, and then when I rebake it, because when you cook something twice, it's a lot crunchier. It's called biscotti. Biscotti, B means two, and cotti means cook, so it's twice cooked. So it's biscotti.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people.
It's not a cookie.
It's not a cookie. It's not a cookie.
See how he thinks? No, it's freaking awesome.
I know.
So then when I cook it the second time, I put it in a bigger pan and I put a nice amount of mozzarella on the sides. And it just melts, and you get that crunchy.
Crisp, yeah.
You ever get like a burnt piece of mozzarella on a thing? It's got that flavor.
You
So
put
now
out a video not too long ago, and I was drooling over that. I think I was like, oh man.
You're dangerous, bro. You're fucking dangerous. I'm letting you know, man.
The ricotta on top. I'm like, oh man, this guy's killing me.
Yeah, and then I had I mean, so little by little, I started trying to change things around, where other people don't do, but also at the same time, I want to try to pizza's pizza to me. More than two toppings on a pizza, it ceases to be a pizza. Correct. To me. Now it's just a vessel. my favorite pizza is just a plain pie with maybe some anchovies on it. That you know, the classic type.
It's rare, by the way, to find. Nobody does anchovies anymore.
Yeah, I know.
You can't find that shit nowhere.
I love anchovies.
Oh,
I mean, it's
God.
got that depth of flavor.
Salt,
Yeah.
the saltiness, and that's what people like. They like that savory. I got to eat. Who cares about the fish flavor? Leave that alone. It's that spike in flavor that you're looking for that
Right.
hits that regular slice to do something totally different.
Right, and you know what? It just adds a certain depth of flavor that you just can't get with just putting salt in there. It
Right.
just adds something into the thing. So there's a lot of recipes that I do put anchovies in because it just brings it to that depth. And if I ever get, you know, very famous one day and they'll ask me, Mike, what's your secret to doing whatever you're doing? I'll just tell them anchovies.
There you go.
Anchovies
I'll
is
let
my
you to
secret.
fish, so you know.
Give him the first one.
So anything more than 2 toppings on a pizza, I mean,
It's overkill.
and I try to stay away from, you know, like when people's like, oh, I like this pizzeria because they make the best buffalo chicken. I'm like, all right. I'm like, everybody uses Frank's hot sauce. I mean, it's chicken, you know.
Chicken hasn't changed in fucking 100 years.
You know, and it's like, and that's the stuff that I try to want to stay away from. I you know, if I were to make a buffalo chicken thing, I would probably use you know, Italian chilies, Calabrian chilies.
Right.
Do it, you know, something more that's more Italian than it is, you know.
American, because
wings,
it is American. Yeah,
Right, exactly. So I kind of wanted to stay away from that stuff, you know.
gotcha.
But sometimes, you know, you have to make the customers happy or the fans happy. But I still haven't done that much.
Oh, we got to do it with the Italian long hots, bro.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly
All
what
right,
you're
so
saying.
we're gonna do it on the contract, right? So I'm gonna come up with some stuff.
Come on down, man.
Bro.
Let's put it together. Let's come up with
Bro.
let's come up with a pizza, and it'll be your signature pizza. I'll put your name on it. I'll put your name on it, and that's your pizza. That's it.
Let's do it, bro.
You know?
I'm down for it, man.
So if you had to tell me in an order of 3, what is the most important of making the right pizza? So, for example, I would say the bread, the sauce, and the cheese. What order would you
What, you
say?
saying bread first?
Right.
What's most important?
The vessel, the dough.
For me, it has to be sauce. The
Oh,
bread.
so the bread could be a piece of sheetrock.
No, did I say it was last? I said it was second. Sauce. I have been burned by great looking pizza, smelling awesome. The minute I taste that sauce, it's like I'm eating candy. Go fuck yourself. You caught me. You. Congratulations, you got me. The minute I get that sweet sauce, you could throw it in the garbage. I don't care how nice it
Yeah,
looks.
no, I know. Because when it's abnormally sweet, you know they put like some sort of sugar in there
To cover up the shitty sauce that they have.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
know.
It's not supposed to be that sweet, you know. And if you got to cook the sweetness out, and you know
Right.
it comes out when you cook it.
Right.
But yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. But for me, you know, I'm all about the dough, so I ferment my dough. You know, it's another step, another couple of steps, but the final product is awesome. It's like how pizza was back in the day before a lot of refrigeration. You know, before like a lot of this commercial yeast. You know, it's naturally risen, and
You don't use instant.
I do use a little bit of the brewer's yeast when you have to. I try to stay away from the other yeast. The other yeast is more chemically put
Enriched.
together, and then the dough comes out whatever. But I try to stick with that, and some other products I just use straight up natural wild yeast because it just takes longer to rise, and I'll just use that for the breads or whatnot. And so I put about a 3-day fermentation process in my in the dough itself, and what that does is it breaks down all the sugars, okay, and it makes the pizza, the dough, the bread more digestible, and lighter. So as you're eating it, you don't get like lead in your
Not
stomach.
bloated.
You could actually eat 4 or 5 slices and you wouldn't even know it. You wouldn't even know it. So now when you go to a pizzeria, pick a pizzeria, it doesn't even matter. You go there, you see pizza on the counter, it's all white. It's all white.
Yeah.
You take the slice, you look on the slice and you see a gum line.
Yeah.
You see that gum line. The dough has not been fermented, and it's going to hit you. It's going to hit you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Okay. And now people that are sensitive to wheat a little bit, not full-fledged celiac, but a little, they will feel it.
Hit you.
They will feel it. An old pizza man of mine, right? He worked at the Underground. He couldn't eat pizza, but he was a pizza man because he would break out in rashes, right? My pizza, he ate it all the time and never broke out in rashes because that extra step of fermentation. And fermentation, no matter what, if it's dough, sauerkraut, wine, beer, fermented food is good for the body.
Yeah.
It's really good for the body. It's a lactose bacillus, right? That's the good bacteria that your body needs. And believe it or not, when a baby's born and it starts taking the milk from the mom, the first shot of milk is filled with lactose bacillus to go into the newborn's stomach to coat the stomach to protect it from its immune system.
Right.
It's the first thing that shoots. So when you eat this, you just get healthier.
Mm-hmm.
It's a healthy bacteria.
Yeah.
So that's what I strive for. I strive for, clean eating, good eating, and that's what I tell the fans when I make my videos that I have to eat here too. So I'm not going to eat crap. I'm just not.
I'm not going to feed you something I wouldn't feed
Right.
myself.
Right. Exactly. Like in a dough, I don't use any other seed oils. It's always olive oil.
Good.
Some stuff we use tallow.
You use tallow.
Some stuff, if I have to fry any chicken cutlets or anything
Right.
else like that, I fried it in tallow.
That's awesome.
So I try to be healthy. Heavy cream. Heavy cream used to be heavy cream. You got it? And was just cream. Now, if you look at it, okay, they put this thing in there.
Like a homogenizer?
Carrageenan. I can't even pronounce it.
What is that?
Carrageenan. Now, carrageenan is a chemically derived whatever that they add to the milk now. What it does is now they could give you half
Of the real
of
stuff.
the real stuff, and the rest of the stuff is water, and they add this stuff in it to make it creamy and heavy.
Bullshit.
So you'll see this ingredient, almond milk and everything else, and the last place I thought I was ever going to see it was there, and it's in there. So now I try to get heavy cream without that stuff in there. So I want
Can't be easy to find.
there's products out there that don't put it in.
Okay.
I mean, everything gets
So
harder
you're
now.
paying
So
top dollar now.
well, yeah, because now the stuff that was natural, that was regular, that you used to buy, now they add the chemicals in. It's like, oh, and you want the natural stuff? That costs more now. That's what they do, and it's not right. It's not right. And all this bullshit they put inside inside the food now is really fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
There's flours out there that I won't use. We used to use it years ago. Everybody used it, but it's like it's these flours that's bleached and bromated. Okay, there's no reason why a flour should be bleached. Okay, bromate is a chemical additive they add to the flour, and it helps the flour rise or whatever it is. But it's very carcinogenic. Right? Every country in the world won't allow that product in their foods
Except us.
except us.
What else is no?
Except us. Okay? And now I don't use it, but there's a lot of people that still use it. To me, it's stupid because it's like, well, cigarettes causes cancer, so you quit smoking because you're gonna die. Right? Same thing. This shit causes cancer. Why give it to your customers and why eat it? Now that we know. Right? So a lot of people still use it. So if you ever guys go to Italy, I go to Italy. Every time I go to Italy, I feast.
Yeah.
I don't hold back.
No.
Whatever it is, I feast. And I always come back home 10 pounds lighter.
Lighter. Yup.
And it's not a myth.
No, it's not.
That's what happens. You could eat, the best pastries, pizza, everything.
They're
And-
more
and-
organic and everything that
Yeah, I mean, because they don't use nonsense. They don't put
No
nonsense into
GMOs,
food.
nothing.
The Italians care what they eat. What I love about going shopping for vegetables is that I love it when it still has the dirt on it. I love it when you got to go like this and get the fruit flies out of the way.
Yeah.
You go one of these supermarkets over here, everything's look pretty, perfect, tomatoes. It's not real. It's not real, So that really, really bothers me a little bit. So I'm all about good, clean eating, as,
And it shows in your product, man. Like, forget about, all right, exclusivity is one thing. But how do you get exclusive? It's your product.
it's your product.
It's
correct.
your product.
Yeah.
It's not just about not going because I don't know where it is. If it tastes good, I want more of it. Where the fuck are you?
Right.
It's like, I'll let you know later, maybe.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So your product has been speaking for itself, which is something totally different.
Exactly.
Man.
And you have people's like, wow, how much is your pizza? Wow, the guy's down the block. I was like, yeah, you know what? Right down the block, Joe's. Yeah. Tell Joe I said hello. He's a great guy. That's what you need. That's what you want. But that's not what I do. Okay? Any other pizzeria would buy an American bag of flour that costs between $18 and $21, 50-pound bag of flour. Okay? The flour I get, Caputo. Caputo is the best Italian flour out there.
Is that the 00?
Well, they have everything. They have 0, 00, tipo uno. They have of everything. So they actually just developed not just, but a few years ago they developed a flour just made for New York pizza. So it's a higher gluten flour that New York pizza needs. So it's a higher gluten flour, and Caputo came up with a great formulation, and the pizza tastes great and it cooks great. Now the difference. Okay, you have a 50-pound bag of flour that costs $19. All right, the bag of flour that I buy from Caputo is $55. $55. All right.
Yeah.
It has no nonsense in it. Everything is natural, pure, the way God intended it to be, and the product
And it
is
costs
delicious.
more. Go figure.
And it costs more. It costs more. But the product at the end of the day, it's great. Now, a lot of people see the prices. They're like, oh, my God, all you got to do is just, throw another $1 on the pie or 35 cents. Do your math. You'll make that money up, right? But it's all about the Benjamins these days, right? It's all
has
about
to
the
be, yeah.
Benjamins. So they don't care. They just pump it out. They got to make their money. I get it in most part,
Yeah.
Fermenting, you need a big space to do all this. It's to do it the right way. But if you really want to do it, you could do it. So you could stand out, But on Long Island right now, people are starting to realize, these entrepreneurs, pizzeria people are starting to realize, now we got, a good handful of people who are very passionate about the pizza, making the dough,
Some people are getting creative. I see now.
Yeah, so a lot of them, they're starting to, use different flours. You're starting to see it now. So now, little by little, people are starting to appreciate, the art of making a good pizza. So, yeah, that's that.
You got to tell us about that pork sandwich I had.
Oh, he was telling me about that. I was fucking drooling.
And then I'll tell you something else. He said it before. We swallowed that sandwich. Then he made us a pizza. The pizza was gone, and we didn't feel so
bloated. You weren't bloated.
like we felt good and we ate good.
Yeah.
So
Because you do the same thing that you would do for your pizza, you do for your bread as well.
Correct. So that's that, and that's
he made the bread in front of us.
So you can't. Listen, I don't want to knock anybody's bread out there. I have friends that are at bakery business out there, and they all do their thing and they're fine. The product is what it is, and it's fine for people who love it. I was just looking for a little bit, something different, and I wanted it to be more healthier, because I have to eat it, and I was just looking for a bread that would hold up to the juices of the roast pork sandwich. So I spent a little time, and I came up with this again with all Italian flours. And I came up with this product, and I was like, wow, this is good. After a couple of months of trying to figure it out, and I came up with this product, and it's really, really good. I got people now asking me if I would make it for them at their pizzeria. So who knows? Maybe I created a whole another thing with with wholesale business with bread. But we'll see what happens, where that goes.
All right.
But yeah, so took a couple of trips down to Philadelphia, and we went to this place, John's Roast Pork. And
Great.
and I had a roast pork sandwich. There was roast pork, broccoli rabe, and shredded provolone on it. I ate it, and I was just like,
This is fucking ridiculous.
what the fuck? I'm like, where you been my whole life?
Yeah.
So I'm eating, and this place is a line. I don't stand on lines, but this thing was outrageous. I'm eating it. I'm trying to figure out the flavors, and I came back home. Bought myself a pork shoulder, cut it open. I'm just thinking. I'm just putting the stuff in there, thinking whatever. I got the thing, white wine, mustard, this, that, everything else. All right, put it inside there, cook it up. sliced it up, put it on the bread, and I was like, you know what? Instead of just putting regular provolone on it, I'm gonna make a fondue out of it.
Yo, that's what I was gonna say. When you put that thing, this guy's not fucking around.
So I made this nice creamy provolone fondue. And nice. Put the roast pork, the broccoli rabe, the hot cherry peppers, and I ate it. And I was just like, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. I'm done. I'm done. This is fucking all I had every day. So yeah, so now, you know, the roast pork sandwiches are just, you know, they fly out the door now. They fly out the door now. You know, the cheesesteaks. I make cheesesteaks.
Oh, you make cheesesteaks.
I make cheesesteaks. That was the first one I started making. Now with the cheesesteaks, it's not like everybody else's cheesesteaks. So being that I have, I also own Vittorio's Italian Steakhouse of Amityville. So I dry age my own steaks there.
Okay.
All right. So I buy prime steaks, nice, the marbling in it, all the fatty, and I dry age it myself. So a lot of these places that do make cheesesteaks, they buy these patties already cut,
Right.
frozen, whatever, right? I didn't want to do that. I didn't like that, you know? So I just grabbed my meat that I dry age myself, that is prime, Black Angus, and the taste of that compared to what you would get, whatever, is outrageous. Outrageous. So now I use this fresh and I slice it. I shred it to order. We get an order, get it, we slice it, we put on the thing, we do what we gotta do, and boom, it's done. So you won't get a sandwich like that anywhere. So now, you know, the sandwiches are like $23, $24, right? But it's prime, dry aged meats
You're
for
actually
30
getting
days.
a fucking steak.
Yeah, it's 30 days, and you know you get nice meat in it. You know, so people that appreciate good food, they appreciate quality, they have no issues of you know, compensating for it. You know, because they know they love it. You know, the other Joe Schmoes, you know, go down to Joe's.
Exactly.
We got to get over there.
What do you think? What are your best products? Are your products that you're pushing out hard? Is it the sandwiches? Is it the pizza? What is it that's really like a real knock out of the park at your place? It has been.
I try to push every whatever, but it's a Sicilian.
Okay.
It's a Sicilian and you know, the round regulars. You know, the people really enjoy that one. But also, what's been really climbing the charts lately has been the Detroits. This one Detroit I have has it's a regular Detroit pizza with the frico on the sides, and I have Gorgonzola fondue.
You need
I'm
to
sorry,
shut the
man.
fuck up forever, bro.
I'm sorry,
because,
man.
I'm fucking dying here, bro.
I'm sorry. So we put scoops of a Gorgonzola fondue on each slice, and then that gets topped with a bacon, tomato, bourbon jam right on top. So now the saltiness from the Gorgonzola and the sweetness from that, bro, it's like fireworks in your mouth.
Killing me, bro.
So
That's why I've been telling him we gotta go see Mike, but we haven't.
so that right there has been climbing the charts lately, and that's one of my favorites. I mean, when you eat it, you be what the fuck, man. So that's a good one. So I'm all about like really, you know, flavor. I'm
Sure.
You know, a lot of places you go to, you eat a slice just kind of like mild. This is to bland. You know, everybody's making the same thing. So I need that
Want
punch.
that kick.
Another thing about, you know, American tomatoes or American stuff, right? You know, in Italy, pick a tomato, whatever, you cook it, and it's delicious. Everything's there built into the tomato. Everything, the sweetness, the sourness, the tardiness, everything. The basil you could smell from across the way. The seafood, everything's flavorful.
Yeah.
Here in America, you know, we have to manipulate and put that flavor back into the product because it's just not that way. With my experience, I mean, you get shrimp. Shrimp's bland. You know, it's bland. You get this. So you have to put the flavor. And the same thing with tomatoes. So you just have to, you know, do whatever you got to do to the tomatoes to bring that tomato flavor
He
out
puts
of
that
it.
fondue on the tomatoes too.
No, I'm sure. Listen, and I agree with you because a lot of times, so like I went from buying, you know, like those canned either Tutorossi or Moti or all these. I stopped using all that. You know what I use now, dude? And it's the stupidest thing. I use cherry tomatoes or flavor bombs. I stopped using the other stuff.
Yeah.
The flavor from those, because it's so concentrated right into those little, and it's how you cook them down. And I love the flavor more now from sauce with that than I do with the other stuff.
And I believe you 100%. Last year, I just moved into my new house, right? So last year, I put a garden up. I made 4 beds, right? And I had some tomato plants, and I had Roma tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, all kinds of tomatoes I had, right? But it wasn't that much, just about. And so I picked them all, and I made a sauce out of it, and I just threw all the tomatoes together.
Oh, you didn't mix.
I just threw them all
Okay,
together,
gotcha.
right? And out of it, I got only 3 jars, 3 small jars.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe the flavor of of the tomato sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't believe the flavor was so
Rich.
awesome.
Yeah.
It was so good. I'm like, so this year, I went from 4 to 12 beds, and they're all tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
I planted all tomatoes, San Marzano, Roma, this, that.
But the thing is, I won't even use the Roma. I won't use the heirloom. I won't use. It's those small ones for some reason. And then for me, Enza just gave me an emulsifier. Dude, you blend them as they're cooking in a little bit of white wine. They get this orange. It looks like you made
Yeah.
vodka sauce.
Yeah, orange. That's the best tomato.
Dude, you put that in there. And then I even sometimes put a little bit of cream in there just to make it light. Bro, it's never
Yeah.
sauce
You'll
ever
probably
had
have
before.
fun with them in the kitchen.
Oh,
Yeah.
forget about it, bro.
Come
Me
on
and you-
down, man.
Bro, me and you gonna end up in our underwear. It's not gonna be nice.
Get the keys, Junior.
Trust me, man. I'm big on flavor, man. Seriously,
Yeah,
like,
me too. It's all about flavor, man.
Because and things in the past, like I remember going to Italy, man, and I still fucking taste it. We went to the butcher shop. They got a roll of thin sausage, and in it was when you said gorgonzola, I said, "He's bringing me back." And then they would just barbecue the sausage with the gorgonzola. Because over here, what kind of cheese they use in the parts with the part? That's the only kind you get. Over there, they play around. Gorgonzola, Gouda, and they throw it in this, and then you eat it right off the grill. Fuck bread, fuck the plate. You're just eating a shigazali. And when you're eating it, that flavor just kicks you in the teeth, and I
Yeah.
still remember that.
You need a
Yeah,
napkin? You good?
I'm telling you, I'm like fucking dying over here.
When you guys do go out, like the small cherry tomatoes. They have these jars. They're called dattarinis. Dattarinis. They're called dattarinis because they're shaped like dates. But there's cherry tomatoes. Those you gotta try.
gotta see where
You
they
got you gotta try those. I'll pick up some for you, and you gotta try that. They're outrageously good.
Fuck.
Outrageously good. So yeah, so there's a lot to do, man. There's a lot to do. A lot of things to experiment with. And another thing, with opening up a physical store where people can actually come in, you can showcase a lot more things. People like to pick up their pizza fresh. People want sandwiches. Like make gelato, Italian ice. Pastries. I just want to give them the whole experience. I want them to walk in and just feel like they're, in Naples, in Italy, maybe Sicily too,
Why does he look at me when he said that?
So I truly want to give them that whole experience because there's people that do it, but they just do it.
They do it to do it.
Yeah. I have family in Italy that, they make gelato for a living. They make pizza for a living. I have people that are in the food business, and they could come down here anytime and, we get together and, and we'll bring the authentic flavor down here. So I want people to come in and to experience all of that. That's my dream. That's it. That's what's going on in my head. So maybe I'll do that after the dive bar. We'll see.
Which pizza you like better? Gas, brick, coal?
I haven't had only in Italy have I had a great Neapolitan pizza. A wood-fired pizza. I've been chasing that taste here in America.
Can't find
and
it.
I can't find it. Yeah, you'll have brick oven, wood-fired oven. That's good.
Yeah.
But there, the tomatoes, like I said, you don't have to do anything. Everything's built into the tomato. Everything's built in. Everything's there. You don't have to manipulate it. And the way the mozzarella melts, where it lets out that little bit of milk, that blends into the tomato. With that bread, you just eat it and it's so unctuous. It's just so.
Mike, you're making my pants tight, bro. Seriously.
It just
It
gets
almost
you.
tastes like it's right out of the garden too, right? All the stuff.
It's so I can't find that same flavor here.
It's gonna be hard, man.
Yeah,
It's gonna be hard.
It is. It's gonna be hard, but you'll get a good representation of it, but not truly what it is.
Right.
But my first pizza was my father's pizza out of a Blodgett oven, and crispy slice New York. I mean, that's still my old time favorite. That You know, the American New York pizza. You know, that started it off. You know, and I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. I don't even know if it's debatable that Connecticut should be the.
I've been hearing that lately.
But it is. God bless them. You know, congratulations. You know, it was you know.
You tried, and you're making it kind of. So
You tried, well, you know, you guys did the best job, you know. But I have friends that in New Haven, Modern Art Beats, Bill from Modern Art Beats. How are you, Bill? I went there. First, I went to Pepe's. First I went to Pepe's years ago, and I was like, wow, Pepe's freaking good. Pepe's good. I never went to Sally's. Sally's was next door. I never really went to Sally's.
Mm-hmm.
Then one day, Pepe's was too packed. I was like, let's go to Sally's. I went to Sally's, had that pizza, and I was like, holy shit. Fucking just blew Pepe's away. I can't believe how good this pizza is. And then early this year in March, St. Patrick's Day, we were in New Haven. We got invited there to be on the float to commemorate or congratulate Connecticut being home of the pizza capital of America.
Whoever they paid off, I gotta meet that guy.
He's driving in the Jag.
and then Bill from Modern Art Beats, he put it together and invited us to go there. So I kind of represented Long Island, and we went back to his pizzeria, and I had his pizza, and it blew both the other ones away, and I couldn't believe how good it was.
Wow.
You know, it was delicious. You know, but it's that New Haven style pizza, and that's what got them on the map, and I guess that's what made them the pizza capital of America.
Yeah.
Congratulations, guys.
Want to hear something funny? So just not too long ago, we went to the Pizza Bowl. So New Jersey, I guess this is the first time I went. They do a Pizza Bowl where everybody, I guess New York and New Jersey,
Okay.
get together and they battle as the best pizza.
Right.
So two friends in this industry, they say, hey, Frank, you should come and check it out. I said, all right, no problem. I guess I got there too early, and I went upstairs, and they were having a big room meeting, but the room meeting was all them New Jersey people. And I'm in the corner in the back with her, my wife, and Marcus, and I hear the guy saying, telling everybody, like if we were in an army or something, goes, let's be prepared. New York is coming later. They think they got the greatest damn pizza. We can't make them. And I'm looking at them like, they know we're here? Like, what is going on?
Really? We're having a powwow?
Yeah.
Dude,
They were
prepping.
amping themselves up like, we got the best meatballs, the
People
best
think
pizza.
that New York is the pizza. Everyone knows it's Jersey. I'm like,
It's
bullshit.
funny because some people saw us, and I'm looking at them like, do they know we're here? Like, what is going on right now?
It's crazy, right? I never heard of that one.
Yeah, pizza bowl. It's like, what's that, fifth one?
Yeah, maybe 4.
Bro,
And you know what? There's a lot of like B actors, actors from Sopranos, Goodfellas. The old day they joined. They're the contenders,
yeah.
the judges, and these pizza restaurants come in.
Was it when was this last one?
It was over the summer, wasn't it?
No, it was
last year?
February.
Oh, February.
Last
Yeah.
February. Wow, it was already last February.
Oh, look, the date's right there, February 1st.
Oh, I never heard of it.
Yeah, it was the first time for me, and I went with my boy Anthony. He does a lot of imports from Sicily,
Okay.
so he was giving us canolas and coffee, and
Yeah, we were helping him out.
it was a great experience. I gotta tell you. But the pizza thing, yeah, maybe you should get involved somehow.
I want to. Hook me up.
You'll blow them away.
Well, let's do it, man. You know, I mean, we gotta teach those Jersey people a lesson. But there is right on the lip of Jersey, next to New York. There are a couple of good pizzeria, great
I
pizzerias,
heard.
Raz's, and the other place, Salt and something. I forgot the name of it. Oh, Jesus Christ! How can I forget the name of it? It's in Jersey City. This guy is insane. You go in there and you see the stuff that he does, and he's always man in the oven. You see him. You look like, a guy that never left the freaking pizzeria or the oven. He's just stuck.
Yo, there's two motions.
But the stuff he puts out, it's outrageous.
insane. I
What
can
he does.
imagine.
What he does.
I can imagine.
I mean, Portnoy gave him a great score, so he makes these oblong pizzas, but you could get half. I'm like, all right, just give me half of that. And when I went there, and it was $50 just for the half of the thing. So and it was good. It was great. It was awesome. I don't know, $50 now. But no, it was awesome. It was really, really good. You have to really give that guy a lot of credit because what he puts out there,
$50 for what again?
half a
almost like a half oblong pizza.
Does it come with a chandelier or something? I mean, $50.
You're allowed to break one window while you're there.
Jesus Christ!
He gave me the pleasure to order it. That's
What are
it
your
is.
thoughts on Dave Portnoy? Like with the reviews, do you think he hurts businesses or makes businesses?
Well-
I've heard both.
Yeah.
You know, to me, anybody in the world, whether they're your customers or just a person, whatever. I mean, everybody reviews you. You know, you have Yelp, you have this, you have that. Everybody get, you know,
Oh, I can't
But
stand
when there are
Yelp.
people
you know?
who take his word as if that's God's word
yeah.
on pizza,
No,
that could be dangerous.
just put it. This is how I feel about
God.
it. If you're a place that's been opened up a long time and he comes in and he's like, yeah, it's good pizza, it's not bad, you know, 7.2, 7.3, okay, you're not going to lose your customers.
No.
You got your customers. What he's doing is, what if he gives you a high score, then you're going to attract his cult following to go there. Not necessarily that you're going to lose the business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of people, you know, not a lot, but I know people that have gotten low, very low scores, and they're doing fantastic.
Okay.
You know, so they're not like, you don't really put them out of business, because if you're established, right, you have your customers and they love your pizza,
It doesn't matter what
it
he
doesn't
says.
matter. It doesn't matter. You just won't get that.
You won't get
you
that
know.
new wave, though.
Yeah, so like this pizzeria, CD or something in the city, he was just recently there a couple of weeks ago, Portnoy, and he ate the pizza and he couldn't believe how great it was. He gave it a 9.2.
Mm-hmm.
These two pizza guys, they just started making pizza, and I think they were sous chefs or chefs from 11 Madison Park, I think, and they just started experimenting, and they opened up a place, and Portnoy gave him a 9.3.
Very unheard of from him, but yeah.
9.3.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, they got lines around the block. The New York Times wrote a story of how Portnoy went there. Posts like the Portnoy effect. This place is now a 3-4 hour wait. You know, so you won't necessarily lose business,
But
but
you
you won't get his cult following that are looking for those 9.5s, 10
Right.
whatever spots. You know,
Yeah.
and that's my theory.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's crazy because you're going off of his taste, not your own. Like, I've seen him give
Well,
low
yeah.
scores to a place that I would go eat, and I'm like, I don't agree
Yeah.
with you at all.
Yeah, no, me too.
What
me
the
too.
fuck? And I'm like, how are you? You shouldn't be the one to. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think anyone should be the one to judge, but I don't even think that anyone should follow your judgment.
I got a good question. What's a football pizza?
A football pizza, I guess, is just a standard pizza that really, just a standard pizza that, you know,
So just a regular cheese pie?
just
You've heard that, right?
well, football.
He says it.
Yeah?
Dave Portnoy.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's good. It's a football pizza, meaning that, you know, it's a pizza that they just, you know, you
Just
go
a
to a
regular
pizza.
toast of pizza. That's
It's
it.
just a pizza that really didn't, you know, like you go to a pizzeria and you see those slices in a thing that's white and they got the gum line. That's it. It's just a pizza that they made that, you know, that just satisfies your hunger. It just satisfies your hunger.
That's it, nothing
and if
more.
you have a party, you could buy like a dozen of these things because you won't go broke, I guess, because they're not that expensive. But yeah, football pizza, meaning that it's good. It's decent pizza, but it's not like just it's just standard. Just standard pizza. Yeah, football. That's what I get from it, you know. But
I thought it was like if you're having like a football party that's good enough for a football party. That's how I understood it. Like, you know, you get 4 or 5 guys eating it.
No,
I get
knock around pizza. Who gives a
right.
shit?
It's like, hey, listen, it's good enough for you to spend a couple of dollars on it, you know.
Okay.
But it's not that good where you have to stand on a line for it.
All
I
right.
guess I don't know. But I met Portnoy, you know, a handful of times, a couple of times.
Came by you?
No, not yet. But interesting. I when he started doing his pizza festivals, the first one in the Cyclone Stadium,
Yep.
I was working it. So a friend of mine had his pizzeria in there, Caniglio's. What's up, Nino?
He's the guy who just opened up in Massapequa,
No. He's in Jersey.
New Jersey.
He's in Jersey, but he has like 8 or 9 Williamsburg pizzerias in Manhattan and Brooklyn and
8 or 9.
Queens.
Whoa.
So he has those places. So that's why and he's got a really good relationship with Portnoy himself. So that's how I met him. So the first time I met him, you know, after the pandemic and all the stuff he was trying to do, and I just saw him and I was like, Dave, Mr. Portnoy, the patron saints of pizzerias. You know, what you've done during the pandemic and helping these people stay afloat, stay in business, giving them money, you know, is something that a lot of people wouldn't do. You know, so I respect him and you know, as far as that's concerned, because, you know, you have to respect somebody that, you know, is giving money to these mom and pop places, because a lot of people were suffering. So, you know, and he did the right thing with that. And the last one we did in Randall's Island, I was there again. Again, we had a great conversation. Now, from that point, right? He's reviewed a ton of places, and he knows my friend Nino very well. Um, Somehow, some way, if you look, Portnoy follows the underground. Portnoy follows the underground, but he doesn't really follow anybody else that he's reviewed, and he hasn't even reviewed me yet.
That's nice.
So, so it's a matter of time if he comes in and out. It's not like, hey, when are you going to come in? When are you going to come in?
No,
But how's he gonna find the spot?
Well,
where can we find you, Mike?
well, you know what? I gave him the info, so we'll just wait. We'll just wait.
DM me.
But you know what? You know who comes into the restaurant a lot though? It's his boy, Stu Finer. I don't know if you know Stu Finer. Stu Finer, he's
I see him probably, yeah.
yeah, he's he's one of his friends. He's on his bar stool thing, and he talks about sports and betting. He does a lot of that stuff right there. So he comes in a lot, So hey, you never know. Like I said, I'm not gonna be like, what are we not coming? What do I want this guy to come in there, hurry up and review me? He might give me a bad score. What am I in a rush for that for? But I know he won't. But still. When he comes, he comes. We'll see what happens. That cult following that he has. Yeah.
So, Mike, we've heard about your background, where your family's done, how do you got into this, and what you're doing next, and the ideas you have. What does Mike do for himself? Like, what do you do outside of all this food?
Listen, I mean, people ask me, what's your hobby? What do you do? And I get stumped. I'm like, what is my hobby? What do I do?
I stand in front of a fucking oven. That's my hobby.
I don't know how to answer. And yeah, I was like, that's what I do. This is what I enjoy doing. That's my hobby. This is what I do. I mean, I can't think of anything, I can't think of anything else. I mean, this is what I enjoy doing. The restaurant, I mean, everybody has a man cave, right?
Right.
I live 20 minutes away from my work, right? So I drive to my man cave. My man cave, you saw my setup. I go in there, and that's where I do my thing. I experiment, R&D. I work, and I'm happy. It makes me so happy.
You got the big horn.
Yeah, and the restaurant part is that you have a revolving door of characters coming through the door. So every day it's something new, something different, something funny, something sad. It's stories. It's meeting new people. You have a revolving door of people that just constantly come in. Whether they're customers for 23 years, brand new, a couple of weeks. I mean, and that's what I love. My employees in the restaurant, they've been with me since I opened up. 23 years in the kitchen, they've been with me. My bartender's been with me since I opened up. 10 years, 15 years. So people come, they don't leave unless I ask them to leave. But we're one big happy family, and they enjoy the place. They can't wait to come to work. So that's my happy place. That's what I do. And aside from, I guess, having my garden. Yeah, so I have my garden, but I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that the banter, the people, and just like this. I mean, this is it. I'm sure you guys enjoy doing this, but it's kind of like a hobby too. I mean, you get to meet so many people, hear so many different stories. I mean, the wisdom that you guys are collecting from listening to these stories and the connections you're making, not only locally but worldwide. I mean, you guys are the true Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you. I mean,
we got a little Indian kid listening to us in Bangladesh.
So I mean, props to you guys. I mean, you guys doing great. I mean, it's and it's one of those things to be proud of, man. Because I mean, the connections and everything you guys make. And listen, if they, if I got interviewed at 2017, Mike, where are you gonna be 8 years from now? I would never have imagined I'd be sitting over here talking to you guys, So I've come a long way.
We never imagined we were doing this stuff.
Shit.
We started off as a goof and
nothing.
Yeah, and everybody that that deserve respect, man. It's really, really nice.
So before we wrap this up, we do have a question that he loves to hear all the time, and I'm gonna ask it in your behalf because you probably not know what I'm talking about.
What?
Working in the restaurant business. Tell us, what is the funniest thing that's ever happened there?
Yeah.
Or the craziest thing that's ever happened there dealing with customers?
I love these.
Well, I guess maybe I'll combine funny and crazy at the same time.
Sure.
Man.
Fuck it. Those are good.
So, you know how they say, Fridays are for wise, Saturdays are for whatever. Our staff, we're trained. We know we don't say nothing. We don't do anything. I remember one time I went to this other restaurant with my family, and I seen a guy that comes into the restaurant a lot for lunch. And I seen him at this other restaurant. I look and I seen him. I was like, oh wow, what's his face? And I guess he saw me. He did definitely see me. So I sat down, right? And he comes over to the table. He comes walking by my table. He doesn't stop, but he says something out loud. He goes like this.
You didn't see
He's
me.
like, I'm here with my wife.
He just fucking walks.
And he just walks to the bathroom.
That's fucking great. That's fucking awesome.
No problem.
I got
it. So I make no eye contact, pretend like I didn't know you.
Right.
Right. So this other story is that so this guy comes in, used to always come in a lot with his crew of workers. And he started coming in a lot with his secretary. No problem. Whatever. Everybody could imagine. We don't care.
Right.
Order a nice dinner.
Yeah.
What we got to do. So always for lunch. So they've been coming in for a long, long time. So this one time, it was a Monday or something, and it's kind of quiet. So it was towards the end of lunch. It's about 3:00 now, and they were there. And then all of a sudden, they weren't there. But the table was, your pocketbook was still there, so they know they were still there, but they weren't nowhere
Where the
around.
fuck they go?
They left.
So yeah. So basically, there's a woman at the bar. She had to go to the bathroom, so she goes to the ladies' room.
Oh shit.
She comes back out. She's like, there's some shit going on in there.
I fucking know.
So I go to the bathroom, and they're going at it.
Breaking the
I'm
tile.
like, holy shit. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, all right.
That's an
man.
extra $100.
I know. What the fuck? It's not free, man. Jesus Christ. So anyway, basically, I was like, all right, I got the waiters. I was like, you know what? Just get out of the dining room. I don't want it to be like embarrassing for them to come out and stuff like that. We'll just pretend like we don't know, right? So they come out, fix themselves up and whatever. Okay. All right, man. Gotta see you later. Take care, right? So I leave, right? And they've been in a couple of times after that. Then all of a sudden, haven't seen them. I guess, maybe the wife found out, things happened, but 9 months later.
There we go. There we go. Right in there. That bathroom, that's where you were made, kid. Right there.
9 months later.
They named the kid Underground.
Yeah.
Close. So 9 months later, they have a baby girl. Him and his, secretary.
Secretary.
And they named the baby Victoria.
Ah.
Vittorio's Italian Steakhouse. They named her Victoria.
That's ridiculous.
And I was just, wow, that's a great story. I tell that story because I love that story.
That's awesome.
So there's a little baby that was
Doesn't just ferment bread.
Bro.
yeah, no.
He makes babies too, man.
We bake babies. Yeah. So that was a great story. That's a great story. I
Dude,
love telling
that's
it.
awesome,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Oh, amongst other things, I mean, my waiters and my bartenders, they see a lot more than I do.
I'm sure.
They're out there, and I need to put a book together,
Honestly,
a screenplay or something.
I love it because you got to hear the nonsense that happens, even like at the customer facing shit. Like when people are right there, the nonsense that goes on is insane.
Yeah, it is.
You get to see what people are.
Yeah.
Fucking nuts.
Do you guys ever worked in the food business?
I have.
Yeah, you have, right?
Yeah, I was in the
I used to own
restaurant
a
business.
pizzeria.
You used to own a pizzeria. That's fantastic. Look at that.
Yeah, we all have like some
Yeah.
experience. He's more of a pizza guy. I was more of a cook guy in the
Right,
back. So
gotcha. But in the event, I mean, that's where you freaking learn humanity. That's where you learn how people truly, truly are.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
You know?
because you fuck with their stomach.
Yeah,
You're
man.
there to feed them, and if they don't get what you see what they.
But sometimes it's not even about the food. Just people are assholes.
But that's what I'm saying. It's
They are assholes, but
Yeah.
you know what? The customer's always right. Not really.
no, they're
But,
not.
we make them. No, that's medium rare. That's rare.
Right.
But the thing is, I mean, we're in the criticism business.
Yes.
We get criticized every day.
Right.
That's just how it is. it's how it is. Either face to face on Yelp, on Google. We're in a criticism business.
It's Judgment Day.
Right,
Every
exactly.
day is
So
Judgment
you need to grow really, leather.
Yeah.
Your skin's got to be leather.
Until this day, I've yet ever ate at a place and decided to go home and write a review. Like, I just don't know why people have this fucking spare time.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Sometimes, listen,
I just won't go there anymore. I mean, that's it.
Listen, nobody's 100% perfect. Someone's gonna get fucked up, whatever. I mean, sometimes we have customers that come in that have been coming in for years, never left a review. All right, something happens, and whatever. Something happens, and what are you gonna do? I mean, we'll fix it. We'll take care of you. Right. But no, the first thing they do is they go on there and they write a fucking horrible review. I'm like, dude, you've been coming here for fucking years. Where's the good one?
Yeah, right. Like I just don't
Dude,
know.
and
I don't get it.
I'm telling you, man, it's not even that. It's kind of like it also working in that industry also told me don't complain while you're there, because I've been in the back. I've been that guy.
Yeah. You don't
You didn't like the cutlet, you fuck?
You
All right.
motherfucker.
Yeah, you motherfucker.
You want extra cheese in there? No problem, sir. I got you.
It was waiting for real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That movie is more accurate than people don't know.
Bro, you can never fucking mix Mexican with continental, bro.
They don't understand the fuckery that goes on back there. The minute that you give us some sort of negativity,
Right.
Remember, we're here to serve you 100%. But like you said, everyone has their off day, whatever. You had some of these comments that came out that flew back into the kitchen, people, and I've seen people do some horrendous shit. Like I was watching where I was like, "Yo, if you could pull that off, bro, congrats to you, man." And they left happier than when they complained. And I'm like, people are gross. Because it's respect.
I'll take it back. Don't put them in your kitchen.
No, just don't say nothing when I fucking make it. But it's respect for other people. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Someone made your food.
All right. Like, can I give you another incident?
Go ahead.
And feel free to kick in on it. If you gave me something and it's raw, is that my problem or your problem?
How did you order it?
Medium.
Hold up. Do you know how many times I've gotten an order for medium rare?
Right.
I've made it medium rare,
I know.
and they go, it's too rare. Then you want fucking medium.
Right.
Or you want well done. Don't bust my balls like you think I don't know what I'm talking about. I got my measurement right here. You know the rule? You don't know the rule?
Right.
Me and Enzo know. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
rare, medium rare, medium well, and well.
Yeah.
I know my
So
measurements.
he's in the kitchen. He's poking his
Yeah,
hand.
they go, what's he doing? Is he fucking retarded? Yeah, a little bit. So I know my
Right.
then you don't want it medium rare.
Right.
You want it well.
Yeah.
But you're making me look bad.
I know.
It's hard.
I know. Some people just, whatever. I mean,
They don't know how to eat.
I know.
I heard this one guy, bro, me venia de vomitare. This one guy goes, I want pasta, but I need you to listen. I said, okay. He goes, voglio pasta. I want it cotto. Como like you could throw it to the wall and it's impiccica. I said, so you want gruel? You want just oatmeal? Allura. And he goes, una cosa così. I said, you're disgusting. I wanted to be like, get the fuck away from me. They ordered that.
And they ate it.
They ate it.
I don't know.
And left the tip.
I don't know.
Explain that shit.
Hey, how old Italian saying goes, says each his own.
I understand that. But you can't make me feel sick cooking it for you either.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
exactly. I know, I get it.
Pasta takes, 10 minutes? Mika, he's like, menzura. Hey, all right. Have fun with your rice porridge.
You notice when he gets mad, his ears turn red?
Yeah, I'm pissed
You
off.
know what? I just noticed that.
See, I get, I'm
Yeah,
I
look
wear
at that.
my
It's
emotions.
getting hot in here, too, from those things. It's giving off some radiant heat right now. No,
from the lights.
it's all good.
These are the air fryer lights.
So, Mike, I just want to thank you so much
Yes, man.
for coming, giving
Really,
us
thank you
your
so much for
story, your
having me here.
background. Your business is awesome.
Definitely.
Tell the people where they can find you.
Well, we're located in Amarillo. We deliver a 5 mile radius. It's text or online. So the text number is 516-589-2523. And the website is mikesundergroundpizza.com. And you could get your deliveries through there. And any questions, you could always text us, and we're there, always available to answer anything. And let's be friends. Let's be friends. No pressure. Come and try it. If you love it, we'll be friends forever. These gentlemen here, they have great taste. I'm not saying that they have great taste, so just don't even take it from me. Take it from them.
Make sure to check out Mike Underground on TikTok. right? You have TikTok,
TikTok.
and Instagram.
Instagram.
All right.
Again, thank you so much. Guys, you heard it. Also, he owns the steakhouse. Go check out the steakhouse. Amazing place. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Mike. I'll talk to you later,
Yeah.
guys.
Take care, guys.
Good night.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.